Aloha, it's Christine Pensa, and this is episode 126 of the Awakened Woman Self-Care podcast. And today I have a beautiful guest, Meghan Genge. She is the author of Unfurl and the 1,000 Days Project. She is a writer, a mystic, an animist, and we have a beautiful conversation about magic and how that magic is part of you. So, welcome and enjoy this episode. Okay, I'm laughing because here we open up and Meghan Genge and I have just been having this awesome conversation, and we're talking about how these incredible conversations are just unfolding all through our lives. And so I'm so delighted she is here, and we're just going to dive in. So I woke up, I think last week, in that liminal space of between sleeping and waking, and I just Meghan's name and face came up into my mind, and I heard you wanted to have Meghan on the podcast to talk about how when we dip into this, what I call sacred self-care, or this love of yourself and your true self, how that is the magic. And what I heard was she's going to have some beautiful things to share. We've just had a whole other conversation. I'm trusting that maybe that's not even what we discussed today, but I'm excited to see what unfolds. So thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me. It's really interesting because I'd say maybe a day, because I said this to you, maybe like a day before, I saw your face on Instagram, and we've been sort of messing a little bit in the past and stuff. And I saw something you posted. I'm like, we're not done. Like, it was like, I have more to do with you. And it was literally like the day before you messaged me. So that made me laugh a lot when you messaged me. We both got the message.
That is fantastic. Yeah. I love that. So yeah, I know. So let's talk a little bit. Let's go into that idea of magic. And I love that word. To me, it always feels like you can just dive into this deep pool. And I also think that, what you're bringing is this idea that magic is, it's not separate from you. When I hear you talk about it or see you express about it, it's absolutely like you're swimming in it.
It's your definition is better than mine. Yeah. It's that moment. My definition has been for a really long time. Magic was like, the word magic was my kind of gateway into my journey. This particular, well, as we were saying before, the tendrils go back way back, but like the kind of moment when I decided, it was that word that kind of, I want that. And for me, it's I use the definition of those moments of connection between me and the mystery. Like when you're in it and you're in it, and it's that profound it, right? And so magic, and it kind of, I hear lots of people using that word, but I think it's beyond. It's actually, you don't need the ICK, you don't need the potions and the hocus pocus magic, right? Because it's that profound connection with you, who you are, kind of all in, right? So that's my working definition.
I did look at your website after I heard that, and one of the things I noted was this beautiful piece, and I'm quoting from your website here, which says, "Our power and possibly the greatest power in the universe is in our imagination, in our authentic expression. And so I think that for me, this reclamation, this remembering of our authentic expression. So the conversation we had was, about this idea, and is it okay if I share about our parents?
Of course.
Okay, so we were talking about, I was talking about my dad with his memory dementia / Alzheimer's, and your dad having similar issues. And I was saying that my dad had shed so much through this of what he wasn't. And he's 91, and we we're kind of going, well, how come he's still around? And when I tune into him and his soul, I just hear, I'm free. I'm so free. He feels free. And I think it's because, he was a huge intellectual, always in his head. And so now he's let go of that. And because he only has a 4-minute memory retention, he is in the moment, or in the 4 minutes moments. And so he's powerfully present. And most of the time, he's not looping into any of those things that were not necessarily him. So more of his authentic soul's expression. So I love that when you talk about that. And I know that so maybe just let's loop in back to that, this authentic expression and how it comes out for you. And I'd love you to talk a little bit about your writing, because I know that's a powerful tool for you. So share that with people.
I think, like I said, the journey, you can go back, but there was a moment, and I know that for me, I am a writer, capital W. I know that for me, I haven't always known that. And it was actually my dad, when I was about 23, they gave me a laptop, and he said to my mom, if she's going to be a writer, we have to support it. And I actually was like, I'm going to be a writer. Like, they knew it was such a part of me that I never named it. And so, but I've always wanted to write. I was, I scribble, I have notebooks. I have thousands of partially filled, empty, whatever, right? Notebooks. And I've always started, for some reason, I was always called, for some reason, or not weird, that I needed to have a practice of showing up every day. And, sort of like morning pages or whatever, I needed to write every day. And so, and I kept starting day 1, and like day 3, I wouldn't be doing it anymore, and then I was doing a meditation one day, and I got a download that was like, I'm not going to swear, but the download swore. It's like, stop around and just do this already. Like, it was kind of, and that's not a normal thing for me to get. So I was like, okay. And so day 1 again, and I started, and for some reason this time it stuck. And I made myself do it every day, no matter what. It was not if I felt like it. I think self-care has been misrepresented, that it has to be letting yourself off, when sometimes self-care is making yourself do, and so I have to do it no matter what. I've done it with 104 fever. I've done it with, on an airplane. I've done it, I've done it. And so today, as we do, I think it's day 1,334 today in a row. And the magical part of it is not the writing. The writing piece doesn't matter. Although once I've done it, then every day I've written already. I'm already a writer. I've already shown up and expressed who I am. And so there's a freedom that comes from, I'm not writing, I'm not a writer. I've done it. I am. It's just done. But what the writing doesn't matter. It's the showing up. And it's the being there for the page. And there are months when I write the same old crap, but the magical piece is that in the showing up for my authentic expression of being a writer for such a long time, is that I can see the loops. I can see the spirals, I can see the Fibonacci in my own self, because I'll be like, oh, I'm there again. So I've become the writer and the reader at the same time. I'm not so hard on myself. I'm not like, why am I feeling like this again? I'm like, oh, there I am. I'm feeling like this again. I wonder what's going on. I can be much more in the moment, and it's gone across everything. So I am so much kinder to myself. I very rarely say what's wrong with me anymore. It used to be a minute by minute thing. And now it's like, that's okay. We're just here now. It's just brought me square into like cosmic consciousness of myself and immediate here consciousness. I know it sounds, yeah. I don't know what you want to do with that, but that's what just showed up, and just writing 3 pages. I don't make myself write anything. And it started out with just like writing.
Yeah.
And now it's a letter to God. Like I went to the big G, it's a letter. And so it's just wherever I am that day is what comes out. So,
yeah. Wow. Yeah. Well, I love, so you've just articulated essentially that what you're doing is you're having, you're being present, number one, mm-hmm. which is, it doesn't matter what the thing is, right? You're using writing as your tool. Anybody out there could use something else as their tool, right? People could go and stand by a tree every day for 1,000 days. Or they could, it doesn't have to be a physical thing, practice like a writing or drawing or whatever. It's listening and spending that time with yourself, right?
Yeah.
And then to me, this is interesting because I was actually thinking about this because I know you kind of just, you're a mover. You were in Canada, you were in the UK, then you just kind of not really knowing a lot about where you are now, you went, okay, we're moving. And so you're living in the jungle.
Living in the jungle in Costa Rica.
In Costa Rica. And it's so interesting because then here, I have lived in the same house for 29 years. And I'm just now moving. But I feel like for me, I don't even need to go anywhere necessarily. And sometimes, yes, I am drawn to certain places, but the journey to me is most interesting journey is finding out, whoa, what's happening here? Why did I come? What's going on in this container of myself? And so you're talking about that journey. So even though, yes, you've had these other journeys on top, I feel like this journey that you've just described of going in and spending this time with yourself is probably, I would think, is the, and tell me if I'm wrong, is probably the most rich and beautiful journey that you could have.
Absolutely. I think it's so funny because whenever we tell people we've moved to Costa Rica, they either are too afraid and they don't ask us any questions whatsoever. The conversation changes, or they get this dreamy look in their eyes. They're like, oh, how did you do that? And they don't want to hear about the work that it took to get here. But I've moved twice, and I can see the reason for all the moves now that I'm in at this side looking back. But no matter where you go, you're there. We got to Costa Rica and it didn't magically turn into a fairy tale, despite what some people think. It's, I was sick. I got hives for 9 months when I was here. We were still us. We were still, no matter how far you go. My grandma used to say, you can run from love, you can run from war, you can run from the cop on the beat, you can run from danger, you can run from a stranger, but you can't run away from your feet. And I think about that all the time. Like, no matter where you go, you're still you still pack and so I had to, and so lots of changes have happened, but it's that moment of, no, here I am. I'm listening to my soul, myself, my essence, my whatever, my muchness. And that has spiraled out in bigger ways than even move into the jungle did. It has supported the move to the jungle is now, has supported that. And it's expanded us in different ways, but I would not have had the openness to expand where I am without that inward, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. And yet there are places, and I think that a lot of people are being called to different places on the earth right now, which is why I'm moving out of a big city, because I need to not be in a big city right now. That's just the call. I've had that call for a while, but I finally got my husband on a little bit on board. So
it's funny. I can't tell you how many conversations I've had with people in the last probably 3 to 6 months of getting a call, of getting an undeniable nudge or a push or even in some cases, a big old kick, like everybody's, and lots of people are ignoring it. Right. I mean, it is what it is. Sometimes you can't, or you don't, or you won't, or, whatever. But this amount of conversations about like, you need to do this, you need to do this right now, that kind of firm, I need to go, or I want to go, or I need to be, or it's a really interesting dynamic right now.
Yeah. And I would say, and this is the invitation too, for people who are feeling anything like that, it is not necessarily even about where you are physically in the planet. It's about this deeper call. And so, Megan's just sharing about how she taps in to herself with this daily writing practice. And, for years, I have talked about daily spiritual hygiene. Like we get up
100%.
We brush your teeth every day, right? Because we know that's important. And so you got to have something that is that daily spiritual hygiene practice is what and it can be super, super simple. And it doesn't have to be, so you talk about the writing. So for instance, I have a robust practice, but it's never the same on any given day necessarily.
But you show up.
A toolkit of things.
Yeah.
So I've got, like one of the things I talked about a while back in the podcast was get 3 resources that you can access, boom, without any special bells and whistles, and have those and know what they are to feed you, boom. And so
no bells and whistles is so important, right?
Yes.
Don't make it a thing. Don't make it a thing.
Here's your thing. A pencil or pen and a piece of paper. Done.
Because if you have to have a certain, you won't do it if the thing isn't there, Yeah.
Like, and for years I remember thinking, well, I can only really relax by the ocean. I thought that. And I was like, yeah, but that I never feel that same peace. And so my journey was trying to find that same peace living landlocked and not near.
In fact, in that statement is a profound thing about you, right? Because now you have found that peace within yourself, right? So it's almost like those rules that we think, those things that we think about ourselves are like huge gaping doorways to that inquiry, right?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. And I did, and again, like I do a lot through visual, and I had painted this painting of a woman, and it was like very old woman, and she's holding her hands around her heart, and in her heart I painted like an ocean. And I remember a friend coming to me and saying, well, your heart is the ocean. And I was like, what? So for me, that was how I navigated through it. And then I went, yeah, I'm not separate from that. And so, sorry, I got onto a little thing about.
I love that.
But yeah, so it's really about this discovery of self. and the magic. So let's talk about how the magic then, because I keep hearing that it is sort of like the ocean, like the magic, you're swimming in it. How do you notice, like give people some thoughts about how you notice magic around you and how you began to attune yourself? Because I'm hearing that it's we tend to be out of sync or out of the symphony of life, out of tune with it. And so how do we attune with magic, which is we're swimming in?
I think that for me, I just want to go, this is an answer, but it's also going back. I think when you do that spiritual alignment in the morning, just a little, like, even just when you step out of the bed and you put your feet on the floor and you say, like, today's going to be magical or something amazing is going to happen, or I'm stepping into whatever makes sense for you. If you do that, then the other stuff is easier. We're talking about ease. It's not easy in that we don't have to do anything. But I think the more you kind of approach it, the more it will approach you back.
Okay, we'll record again. We lost.
Tell me where to start from.
Meghan there to the jungle blips of power outage. So where we stopped, where I lost you, was you just had said something beautiful. I wrote it down. The more you approach it, the more it approaches you back when talking about magic. Oh, for goodness sake. And there's phones.
We're creating lots of energy going on here.
Okay, go ahead. Now we had a phone ringing on my end. Yes, sorry. Go ahead.
That's okay.
The more you approach it, the more I love that. That's beautiful.
Well, there's the two different quotes. There's the Byron Katie, I'm not breathing, I'm being breathed. It's that your job is half of the equation, right? You breathe, or the Rumi, like what you seek is seeking you. Like you have to do all of those things imply activity. All of those things imply participation. You can't, all of us. And whenever I do my courses, I always say, talk to me about a time when magic has happened. And everyone's like, oh, I don't have one. And they go, oh, wait, yes, I do. Everybody has a moment when something has happened that's made you go, like, is that real? Was that for me? Is that magic? And I think it's just that first part is about paying attention. And if you always see something or you always notice something, start there. You just start small and you say, oh, that's for me. We had lots of little things have happened. There's a big fat story on my website. I don't know if you read it, about my grandmother. My grandmother was born in England. The long story is I had no idea where she was born or any of that. And she was born in England. And when I lived in England, I ended up working in one of those big, like Downton Abbey. I managed this big sort of Downton Abbey kind of house, and discovered after I had the job that she had lived on that estate and had been taught in the library of that house. Like, it's things like that kind of made me go, okay, I need to pay attention because this isn't random, And then it's just paying attention and saying, okay, I want to see something today that's going to take my breath away. I want to see something today that's going to make me realize that that's for me, or just really in it, really paying attention and actively participating. And then when it comes, saying thank you. I see blue morphos is another one. I've got a long history with blue morphos, and I'd never have thought I was a butterfly girl. Like I was that girl in Canada who was like fleece wearing, baseball cap wearing, like butterflies are ridiculous. And yet I see blue morphos now, and through my life before I was in a place where they lived, saw them at critical points, and now see them, all the time. So it's that kind of full participation in the full process of showing up, looking for it, saying thank you when it comes. And if you wonder if it's a sign, like, is this magic? Am I in it? Am I listening? Ask. It's about participating really, and realizing there's a conversation going on all the time, and you just have to be doing your half of it, treating it like that, I guess. Does that answer your question? I kind of got off track with the whole.
No, that's, I love that. And I love the butterfly. That's beautiful. Yeah, someone just sent me something on Instagram of this dog that was letting butterflies land on its face.
They sent me that. Someone sent me that too.
Oh my goodness, that's so awesome. And a couple of years ago, I was at a crystal retreat, and there was a man who was like one of the participants, and he was such a gentle, awesome being. And he had these butterflies landing on him. And I was like, how do I do that? And so he said, you just be. And I was like, oh, come on. And then they land on your, and they stay there. So, like it comes to your finger, you ask, will it come? And then it stays there. So it's like this magic.
And you have to breathe into it. Like if you
be
there
go into the energy of the butterfly and the field of the butterfly, which is your field, part of your field.
Because if you start letting it get crazy in your head.
We do this like, oh, there's this line between me and everything else, right? And we often put this like idea, well, magic is for other people, or that's for other people, or whatever. And really, when we start to have this exploration of ourselves and we start to, practice and notice, what's showing up, everything is this further journey into yourself. And then you start to really, as you say, with the practice of gratitude, you notice and appreciate, and you fall deeply in love with yourself, which means you're in love with everything. And you can't believe that you didn't know that. Nobody taught me that.
I had a moment with a female cardinal at my mom and dad's this Christmas, this winter. And it was his mom started putting all the birdseed on the windowsill because it was too far to get to the bird feeder. And so this female cardinal would come and sit, and the cardinals had never come to the windowsill before. And the cardinals are very much a symbol for my parents, of my dad's parents and stuff. So, but I had this moment with this female cardinal where I just stood and was just in the moment, breathing and looking at her and admiring her and just being grateful that I was so close to her. And you should have seen her face. She looked up at me and she was like, kind of like, she couldn't believe that a human was like, she was as surprised by me as I was by her. There was this moment of her, I could just tell that she had this moment of pure confusion, that there was a human that wasn't just being noisy. Like I was just in it with her. And I think that's the other piece I want to say is you say the journey piece is really important, because I think it's easy to hear stories like this, like of you covered in butterflies and me having a chat with a cardinal and thinking, oh, I'm never going to get there. But that's not where I started, right? It's not where it begins. It begins with these little tiny steps of faith and hoping and practicing and allowing and wondering, is that for me? Is that happening? There was one day that I had this blue morphle thing, and we had this car accident, and I actively processed the accident as I was walking towards, we didn't have a phone with us. So I had to walk up the hill, and I actively processed the accident as we walked up the hill, because I didn't want to carry it around with me anymore. I didn't want to like make any stories about this accident. I just want it to be an accident that happened and now we can move on, right? I didn't want to store it up for later. And so I was actively kind of having this conversation. And I said, I am talking to the universe. I talk to the universe out loud all the time, especially when I'm alone, always. And there was like one little morpho flew by, and I was like, oh, that's just coincidence. And I was walking up the hill and still in it, still processing. And then there were 9, and they don't fly in packs of 9. Like you get 1 or 2, and then there was 9 in front of me. Oh, okay. Thank you. I think it's that understanding, and then things will start to happen. It's like push-ups. You don't do 40 push-ups on your first go, but it's the commitment to, and it's, boy, you agree, it's worth the commitment. It's better than push-ups.
Yeah. And also, just as you're talking about that, one of the key elements that's coming up too is that, if you wake up every day and let's say, show me the magic that is around me, or show, something to that effect. But then there's a second necessary component. Get the heck out of the control booth, right? Like, allow, because we tend to say, oh, well, if this is magic, then this cardinal is going to come and it's going to sit on my porch and I'm going to, and it has to look like this. No. So just get out, but be.
When a squirrel could be looking at you in the window going, hello.
Yeah. Exactly. Like the squirrel's going, hello, here for you. And you totally miss it. So it's like, just be present and out of the head and out of the control booth to think it has to happen in a certain way. Right. Mm-hmm. And that's when the magic comes in. I mean, that's magic. Magic is unexpected and it's expansive and it's infinite, like we are. That's who.
But it's when you are in your own, your own moment. Yeah. Like it's expansive, but you have to be in your own self. You're not yourself. What I don't know what the word is. You have to be in the moment,
in your presence, right? In your pure presence. Whether you want to call that, however that feels for you, like your 0 point, getting into the heart, the sacred neutral. Your pure presence, your original divine blueprint. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of languaging that you can use, but however that works for you, come to that. Breathe, like on the breath. There's the pneuma, the breath as pneuma. The pneuma is the spirit, breath of spirit. So it's like, it's never like that. It's always like, quiet, and it brings you further down into the heart. And in that space where it's like you are that 0 point, everything and nothing, it's like that is your access to all that is, and the magic that you are. I mean, this, we're talking about magic as though it's something out here. It's not. It's
no.
What? Why did I call that this place that you worked in? Why did I call that in? Wow. So you can dive into that and allow that to open up for you. Or you could just say, oh, what a funny coincidence.
What a coincidence. Yeah.
It's your choice.
That's just a coincidence.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah.
But you also, and then you start
choosing. You choose. You have chosen a life.
The meaning.
Of magic.
As well. You choose the meaning of that, right? I could see it as a coincidence, or I could see it as magic. And which one creates a more interesting life, right? Which one creates a richer experience? Which one changes my path so that I now live in a treehouse in Costa Rica, right? Like, like which one? And I think even if that feels too far away for people, I think that what I have discovered and what we have discovered, that's the gift that living here has given us, is we have discovered that the biggest gift you can give yourself is that bringing your own attention back, getting your own. I mean, the most powerful commodity in the world is your attention, right? Everything in the world is vying for your attention. And you can tell if you eat something that doesn't feel right, you don't feel good enough, that, you don't align with the magic that, like you can. And so how many ways can you pay attention to yourself in how you feel the best? I'm not judging anything that's out there. I think there's value in most things, but I think that if you know yourself, if you can start with, well, how do I get so that I can sit quietly for 30 seconds? And that might require not eating things or not watching things, or, when I was in Canada, we don't have TV here, partially because it's too much work. Originally, we download stuff. We don't watch any commercials because we download stuff. And when I was at home with my parents, I just couldn't, I felt toxic and I couldn't figure out what it was. And Mark's like, well, check your Wi-Fi. So there's like 15 Wi-Fi signals around me. And I was watching commercials and it's all angry and it's all like all the messages even if that's all, you don't even, look into anything else. And all the TV shows were angry, and it just felt toxic to me. And if I hadn't actively decided to come out of that at some point, I wouldn't know that. My parents don't feel that way, but I was just like, whoa, like, no. And so I think it's also reclaiming your own attention, because you won't find the magic if you're actually scattered and frightened and angry, or, watching something awful and violent that's making you, that's just pushing you right out of the truth. That's just sucking you out of the truth. I was watching the news, and there's this news station, there's like 18 different windows open, and they were all moving. I was like, what? Of course I'm going to be scattered. Look what they're trying to look what's happening. Like, whatever you believe, that's not healthy. Pull your attention back as often as you can. If magic feels impossible, start with your attention. Start with reclaiming your right to what you focus, to choose what you focus on. That's a huge piece, I think.
So we're going to wrap up in a minute, but I think I was going to ask you that very question. And I want to emphasize here that, for anyone who's saying, yeah, but I have blah, blah, blah going on. Yes, welcome to this world and this moment in time.
There isn't anybody who doesn't.
Really being challenged. We're super challenged. Absolutely, 100%. And all of these things that show up as potential, what we might think is bad or negative. What's it showing me?
Yeah.
There's
gifts in everything. Yeah.
Like coming into you. And so how can I notice this and also invite in magic?
That happened to me when I was at my
holistic of you. Like, somebody said to me, one of my teachers years ago, and I love this. She's like, when you're sick, it feels like it's the end of the world, right? Like, it's like, that's all you can think about because that's your focus. So she said, but you don't say, I am a cold. You say, I have a cold. Even though it feels like really like, oh, it's taken over everything. I feel crappy, whatever. But you don't say, I am a cold. So think of whatever this is that shows up, as you're saying, the news, like, well, that's not who I am. Like, you immediately went, whoa. And that, to me, in my body, feels toxic. So you notice that. You
listen, and you don't.
Who needs to step away from this. And that there's no, do that without any kind of entanglement or judgment. You just, you are a sacred, neutral observer. And I think that's really important for people to remember who are saying, I've got no magic. Crap, this is horrible. And yes, we're going through some tough times. Absolutely. Honor that. And there's still room for this. There's still room to love yourself more, to be in this sacred self-care, which could mean, doing, walking away from something that you're used to. Like, you might be used to watching commercial programs, and just notice. So start noticing.
Or just start with one, or with one. What's going on here? Why do I feel, you don't even know that's what it is. You suddenly, I'm feeling good and this so terrible. Like, wait a second, stop into that moment, into that heart. What is going on here? What was I just doing? What was I just thinking about? That commercial for whatever made me feel really sick and toxic. Why? What did it bring up? It's just reclaiming your own answers, right? And no judgment. The judgment is pointless. It's pointless.
Yeah.
It just adds distraction, right? So, yeah.
Yeah. Yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
So much magic around you and this conversation. Thank you so much for being game and coming on. And
anytime.
We we had no script or agenda other than let's see what unfolds. And so I think it was really beautiful, and I really appreciate you being here. Thank you so
Thanks
much
for having me.
It just makes me, I feel so warm.
Me too. Me too.
Thank you. I love you. Wow.
I love you. Thank you.
Thank you so much for being here, listening to the podcast. And thank you again to Meghan Genge for being the guest today and all the beauty she shared. Super powerful and just gently powerful episode, I think. So if you want to know more about her and all of her work, the links will be in the show notes, and also her website is meghangenge.com, and that's Meghan spelled with a GH, so MEGHANGENGE.com. Thank you, and have a beautiful day. I appreciate you listening, and I would also appreciate it if this episode or any of the episodes has helped you. Please share with a friend or on any social media. It's really appreciated. Let's get this idea of, well, not just an idea, a way of being, this self-love, sacred self-care, and let's spread it on everything. I love you. I thank you.